Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. My name is Tony Squares. As always, I'm joined by lifelong friend of me, a man that's been covering the industry for over a decade now, a writer for Sportskeeda, Mr. Robert Lentini himself. Let's dive right in. We have Blood and Guts to talk about. We have WWE's build to SummerSlam to talk about, and a couple of stipulations added there, including a woman who broke the internet at the end of Monday Night Raw. But let's dive right in right now. Mr. Robert Lentini, Blood and Guts. Let's dive into the main event, the curtain jerker. It's time to talk about the chair shot heard around the world. Team Elite versus Team AEW, and Team AEW came away with the win because Jack Perry was apparently going to be set on fire, and they decided to quit in the face of that. First off, Blood and Guts. We've had now a couple of Dynamites in a row where they've had premiere matches on free television. This was one of them. Were you happy with their War Games Blood and Guts match as a whole?
Overall, yes. There's some things I can criticize, certainly. But overall, this is free television. This is pretty amazing to get like an Iron Man match last week in this. This is pretty... we're lucky as fans. We're just... People are just finding reasons to complain if they're shitting on this too much. But there are things to shit on this match. There are things to talk about.
No, yeah, I really enjoyed it too, and yes, of course, there are nitpicky things.
Yeah.
Again, don't know why the Acclaimed are in there at all, but I did enjoy some of the spots that they did. Overall, though, I thought, every time you see one of these matches, like same thing when you see a Hell in a Cell, or same thing when you see an Elimination Chamber, there's only so many things you can do in those matches. There's only so many times you can throw someone off the top of Hell in a Cell before it's like, okay, we've seen that. You know what I mean? It's still impactful. It's still cool. But I did think there were some really original moments in here, including mostly Darby Allin. I thought Darby Allin was excellent for the entirety of this match, except at the end when he struggles to get the microphone in his hand and find the gasoline. It extended the finish quite a bit. Darby Allin rolling around under the ring trying to find everything. But Darby Allin climbing the top of the cage and doing the coffin drop off the top, that was some original shit, man. I'd never seen something like that before, not since, I forget who did it in Elimination Chamber, where he climbed to the top and fell off, one of the Lucha Bros. But it was such a cool spot, such a cool match. I really enjoyed the bulk of it, and I don't know if the right team won. Like, I wanted to see the Elite continue to hold strong, but it did send forward the stipulation of what's going to happen next for these guys. So all in all, applause to AEW for not only having this match on television, but forwarding storylines through this match. And again, the Acclaimed and Okada were just hanging in the back for the last 20 minutes and just not doing anything.
Okada did absolutely nothing this entire match. Literally nothing. They're paying the guy millions upon millions of dollars. He did absolutely nothing. That was one of my main complaints. I was just watching him like, holy shit, like this guy, like they put him in this match. They just don't book him in the match then. But yeah, just it was a spot fest like I knew it would be. I like the Hangman Page not coming out when his entrance music hit and they're just attacking Swerve Strickland. I like that. I like the handcuff angle. I like that. The only one thing should we talk about now, the chair shot, or should we hold off a little bit longer, you think?
No, I think we should. I do have stuff to say about Okada, but no, I think that's the number one thing coming out of this match, at least online, is the chair shot heard around the world. If you didn't see it, the finish of the match, Jack Perry also handcuffs, too many handcuffs in this match if I had one thing to nitpick, but Jack Perry also handcuffed to the cage and took a couple of kendo shots to the stomach, which were great. I thought that was a really well shot, well done angle. And then finally, he's not submitting, and so they take a chair shot that he brought out. The chair that he brought out says scapegoat across it and hits him over the head with it when he cannot protect himself. Sort of throwing it back to when Cody Rhodes took a chair shot from Shawn Spears across the head and opened up a gaping wound in his head. But here's the thing. People were complaining. What's his face? Corey Graves on Raw, one of them, were out there complaining that this stuff should not happen and should not be in wrestling. You have to protect yourself. You have to do all that. And all I got to say to you, Bob, is I think they all got worked, man. I don't know if you heard this chair shot. I don't know if you saw the chair, but have you ever played with those like aluminum foil like cooking trays? You know what I'm talking about? Those big, really flimsy, $2 at the supermarket thing.
Yeah.
You hit those over your head, it makes the best sound in the world, and it's a flimsy piece of aluminum foil. I think that's what I think it was a gimmick chair.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this and I heard this, I was like, oh, that's wicked cool. I was never fearful for Jack Perry because a real chair shot with that velocity would have knocked the guy fucking out. Yeah. And I think it was a gimmick chair. I think it was a great job by AEW. Am I wrong on this?
No, I think it was like it was a gimmick chair. It was like shaved down, so it wasn't going to hurt as much. I think what the the main issue is the way Mark Briscoe, the force that he hit him. Yeah. It was like it was well done, but Corey Graves complaining about it makes sense to me. The guy can't wrestle because of head injuries and concussions. So he deleted that tweet too. So I think it was in the moment people flipping out because they thought it wasn't a gimmick chair. And the people thought like, well, Jesus, we got all these concussion issues. We got so many crazy spots in AEW. Let's not start bashing people over the head with chairs. Yeah. But if it's a gimmick chair and it's once in a while, great. The Cody Rhodes, Shawn Spears one, that was also a gimmick chair. And it cut him cut his head open. So it's still dangerous, but you just like, I've heard that this was a gimmick chair. I think Brian Alvarez said it was a gimmick chair. A couple people have. It wasn't just an actual steel chair.
You can't do it with an actual chair. Like, not anymore. We're not the Rock of Mankind anymore. Like, it's not happening. But I mean, here's the thing. I thought that chair shot did exactly what it was supposed to do. It's in a match where literally anything goes. What can you do to have a finish? And that was a finish. Like, that was like, okay, it's over. Like, no mas. No, we all said no more. It's done. Good job. You won. I thought it did its job.
Well, I mean, just a month ago at Anarchy in the Arena, we got people getting set on fire. It'd be pretty hypocritical for me to come up here. And I love that match. I said, the problem is with you if you didn't enjoy it. And I feel the same way about this. It's stupid. If you think about it for more than a second, it's ridiculous. Like, but other than that, like, I'm excited about Darby Allin versus Jack Perry for the TNT title at All In. That was part of the finish. Darby Allin said, you have to quit and give me this TNT title shot. It was a little anticlimactic with them having like a promo after the end of a 55-minute war. Yeah. But other than that, like, I liked everything that happened. Like that came from it. The Swerve, we still got Swerve and Hangman. Don't know they hate each other, but then we got Bryan and Swerve at All In. So that's a little weird to me, but I'm sure it's all going to be making more sense down the line. But
it's Tony Khan. But I think Blood and Guts did its job. It gave us stuff to talk about. It forwarded the storylines. And
great crowd.
Great crowd. I thought it really was a fantastic job. And the one thing I want to talk about before we move on from Blood and Guts, speaking of stuff I haven't seen before, and it involves Okada, I thought the staple gun bit was fucking awesome. Like when Swerve has the staple gun, bringing stuff back to his match with Hangman, and then suddenly there's a briefcase and all of the elite is surrounding him and gang stapling him. It was that was impactful. And then Swerve goes on this comic book hero-esque fight between, he's doing all these counter moves and stapling guys in the neck like he's like John Wick. It was so great. And the best one was Okada setting up for the Rainmaker and hitting him with the middle finger because he's a heel now, and he just staples him in the middle finger. Man, that was perfect. That was perfect AEW to me. Perfect. Again, if you don't like that, the problem is with you. I thought it was fantastic. And kudos to all those guys for getting stapled in places I would never want to be stapled. I loved it. I really did love it. But that's it for the curtain jerker, because you have already brought it up. We're moving now to the mid-card, and the first segment of the mid-card is this build to All In that we have a lot of it done in Blood and Guts. You talked about how we have now Jack Perry versus Darby Allin for that title, whatever the title is. We have a new title now, the American title that MJF has, building to Ospreay versus MJF. A fantastic match, a fantastic promo by Ospreay, by MJF, Ospreay coming out. All that stuff is fantastic. We also have Britt Baker and Sasha Banks. Had a little tete-a-tete with Britt Baker, had a quick match, and then talked about had Sasha Banks interrupt her post-match. And then Toni Storm and Mariah May, which I thought was the most impactful version of this entire Blood and Guts build. And Toni Storm looks like a maniac right now and wants revenge, and I am all here for it. My friend, we'd been talking about for weeks how AEW is not doing a good job of building things, particularly towards Forbidden Door. This All In is a little bit different right now, and I'm really enjoying. I mean, is there a build right now to these matches in particular that you're not enjoying? Because I'm loving every one of them.
No, I'm loving it too. I thought Toni Storm showing up last night, screaming, "Are you ready? Are you prepared to die?" at All In was absolutely epic. MJF's promo last night was old school MJF, and then the introduction of the American Championship, and then the obnoxiously giant American flag with his face as the stars. I mean, who thinks of that? It has to be MJF. That has to be his idea. That was brilliant. Just totally ridiculous.
That flag was the size of 2 rings.
Oh, it was
2 rings.
It was unbelievable. It was like it was the size of the entire crowd, pretty much. It was unbelievable. But Bill, oh, it was just great, and I'm so excited for that. Matt, we just saw MJF and Will
Yeah.
Ospreay last week kill it.
Yeah.
How can you not be excited for their rematch at All In? The American, I don't know what they're going to do if they're going to keep the American Championship. Or they're going to go back to the International if Will Ospreay wins it back.
I do like how Will took it out of the trash with him to go, so it's not dead yet. I did like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved all of it, man. And then Sasha and Britt too, man. Like those 2 wrestlers are wonderful, and if you give them time to build something, they're going to build something great. And I think they are. With the introduction of Camille afterwards as Sasha Banks' Diesel to her Shawn Michaels, Britt's in real trouble, man. And I don't know. Storyline wise, how you give Sasha Banks a loss, especially if she's rumored to be booking her own feuds. But I mean, I'm really enjoying. It's rare that we see AEW build more than one women's feud at a time. And we now had 2 on Blood and Guts and a third one with Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. They're having an eliminator match, I guess, for the championship. She has a CMLL belt now. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Willow versus Statlander is a feud that they are also building. Very mid-card feud, but that's okay. And I really enjoy what's happening. So like I'm pumped for these women to get a shine here on AEW.
Yeah, well, we're pretty much done with it, but just on that Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander point, you need mid-card feuds. You just can't have random matches for 2 hours. Like, you have one good match at the end of the night, at the beginning of the night, and then an hour and 45 of filler, which sometimes Dynamite feels like. You can't have that. Even the mid-card feuds are being done well right now. So let's hope this continues all the way through All In, because I'm pretty excited for the event right now, and I couldn't say that about 3 weeks ago. So they've done something well over the past few weeks for me.
I guess there's one feud that they've been building that I'm not excited for, and that's got to be for the tag belt, Elite versus the Acclaim, because we're getting that at All In as well.
And probably Samoa, whatever they're doing some kind of stadium stampede thing with Samoa Joe and the Learning Tree. I'm not interested in that shit either, but everything else I'm interested in. Yeah.
Nobody is. But yeah, man, hey, props to him, man. Like, again, we're not going to love all the builds. We don't love all the builds in WWE either, but props to him for... they're really making this their WrestleMania, this London show, and they should. They really should. This is a special moment, a special location, and a special show, and they're giving us some special matches and feuds to build off of that, so I'm pumped about that. There's one feud in particular, and this is the next mid-card topic we need to talk about, that I have some questions about, and it's for the main title. It's for Swerve Strickland, and what he did in Blood and Guts was awesome. As you said, Hangman not coming out to his music and attacking him afterwards, and all the stuff that they had back and forth, the staple gun moments. Like Swerve Strickland is $1 million right now. I think he has never been better as a wrestler. I think he is, everything about him, from presentation to what he does in the ring, is perfection. He's a big deal, and he's obviously has the biggest belt in the world for AEW right now, and he's bringing it into Wembley, and he's facing Bryan Danielson, who is under contract, I guess. There's talks about how he's got like a handshake deal through the end of All In. I don't know the contract stuff. I never buy any of that anyway. Some of it might be storyline. I really love Jeff Jarrett coming to talk to him during the Dynamite thing and saying, like, I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. All that. He's never going to not tell an emotional story, Bryan Danielson. I'm never going to not be invested in him. And him winning the Owen Hart tournament gives him that moment to face for the top belt, and that's going to be the main event at Wembley. And Bob, I know you're going to hate hearing this. He should not be in the main event at Wembley. The Swerve Strickland match should be versus Hangman Adam Page. If you're having this be your WrestleMania, this is the best feud of Swerve Strickland's entire AEW tenure. It is at its heat, its moment, its peak right now. And the way you've been booking it isn't exactly putting Hangman Page to the side. He is in the forefront of Swerve's crosshairs right now. And for Bryan Danielson to take this place, not that he's taking it like The Rock was taking it from Cody, but for Bryan Danielson to be in that spot, it feels to me like Cody facing AJ Styles. It's going to be a great match. We know who's going over. And the match that matters, the feud that matters, is Swerve versus Hangman. And that should be headlining this Wembley show. That's my biggest naysay, my biggest con versus this entire All-In build is the wrong man is facing Swerve for the belt. What do you think?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But also, on the other hand, I want to see Bryan Danielson win the title. I've been
Of
wanting to see
course.
Brian. I want if you're gonna have him in the main event and they're gonna announce that he's like re-signing, which I'm hoping. Like he's gonna give him 2 more years, but I doubt it. We'll see. I feel like that's what I don't like about this build. Like we got Bryan Danielson talking about the end of his contract on the way on the road to the title match. It's like, well, are you staying in the company? Like we kind of need to know that you're in the biggest title match the company's ever had. Are you staying? Like kind of need to know that. Like that shouldn't be out there heading into your title match. I don't know if that was a negotiating tactic by Danielson. I don't know why the hell
I think
that
it's all storyline.
Yeah, I hope so because I hope he's staying there. I don't want people want to see him go back to WWE for one more run. I don't. I want him to be in AEW for the rest of his life, like behind the scenes trying to get that company right. He's the right guy for that job.
If there's anyone who genuinely thinks that he's going back to WWE at this point, you're an idiot. Like I can tell you right now, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
There's no chance Bryan Danielson, who's yes, he's on his last legs and he will not be wrestling forever. And this might be the final few moments of his career. He's not going to go back to WWE right now when they are already doing 2 retirement tours with CM Punk and John Cena. Like that, your whole entire career has been you being the little guy that is, should be in the spotlight when these big hunks have been taking it from you. He's not going back right now when the 2 biggest hunks they've ever had are doing their retirement runs. Like they talk about a mid-card feud. Bryan Danielson would be at the basement level of all of the builds that they're making in WWE. You're an idiot if you think he's going back to WWE. He's not going anywhere. This whole, it might be true. His contract runs up at the end of this month or whatever. But there's with this storyline, handshake deal or not, him re-signing is it's a formality at this point. It might just not be for a full-time deal.
Yeah.
And what we're again, like, even we want him to win, even if they play this retirement tour into All In, and like if he loses, he has to retire or he doesn't re-sign, whatever stipulation they add to it, whatever you do here cannot make me buy this more than what I would buy for Swerve versus Hangman. Right. Whatever Hangman's doing in All In, I'm going to wonder what he's doing in the Swerve match. Whatever Swerve's doing in All In versus Daniel Bryan, I'm going to wonder if Hangman's involved. That's the storyline we're talking about.
Right.
And just like Roman Reigns is hanging over this SummerSlam build with Cody and the Bloodline, like there's something that matters more. And if this is your WrestleMania, you have to give it to us. And I'm disappointed. There's no other way to. I hate saying I'm disappointed in a Bryan Danielson build. I want him to be there, as you said. I want him to win the belt. But this isn't the way I wanted it to go out. And maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you. It feels weird. It feels weird saying Bryan Danielson in the main event is a disappointment, but he is right now. The way this is, Hangman Page and Swerve, that's real hatred. Well, at least it feels like. They got me buying into that feud that they absolutely loathe each other. So I kind of want to see it in the main event of All In. It's weird. It's like the building to it, but the match doesn't exist. I don't understand what they're doing. Like I'm not. Coming out of Blood and Guts, I'm no more excited about Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland at All In. I want to see Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland. But we're not getting that until who knows. But
who knows?
Yeah, I agree. Or they're going to do it into a triple threat, which I wouldn't really want to see either. Bryan Danielson just feels like he's tacked in. He's just added on.
Exactly. And again, we have a month till we get there. SummerSlam is the next big pay-per-view for WWE. That's coming very soon, but we have a month until we get to AEW All In. So maybe things change. Maybe there's a different build. Maybe someone loses a belt in the meantime. Maybe they have a blow-off feud. Who knows? But we'll get there eventually, and we got plenty of time to talk about it. But now it's time to talk about the WWE world. And my friend, we talked about this last week. Speaking of guys that are tacked onto a build, let's go on to one of the biggest builds in WWE. It's Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. It's finally happening in 6 months build for this. An entertaining build. It's not a Solo Sikoa build. It's an entertaining build. But 6 months in the making, we're getting this. And Seth, as we said, was tacked on at the very end. And now he is special guest referee, which, hey, I like it for the build. Not going to lie to you. I think it makes sense for the build. Hate it for Seth. For Seth. Seth is another guy that isn't exactly the youngest man in the room. If you have a SummerSlam and he's healthy, he should have a feud and a match on the card. What do you think about this?
I think that there's something like this is Punk's first match back. And then Seth Rollins has only had one match since he returned from injury, the torn meniscus. I think this is like a 10-minute, and then there's a big screw job finish happening here is my prediction to extend this feud. But I agree with your overall point. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk was supposed to happen at WrestleMania. Injuries prevented it. Now it just feels like tacked on. Like we're just throwing Seth Rollins in there. This is Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. This has been 6 months of hatred, just CM Punk costing Drew McIntyre over and over every time he tries to cash in. So and win the world title. So yeah, I don't like Seth Rollins really in this spot. But the only reason I can think that they're doing this is because Seth Rollins is not healthy and they want him on the show, and they have plans for Seth Rollins and CM Punk at next year's WrestleMania or whenever. But I agree, Seth Rollins, if at all healthy, he wasn't healthy at night one at WrestleMania. He put on a damn good match against Drew McIntyre. So I wouldn't mind seeing him wrestle if he can wrestle at all at SummerSlam too. But I guess they're just going to have him be the referee. I don't understand it really either, but I'm just excited for this match is finally happening after waiting for it for 6 months. I thought CM Punk was never going to return to the ring.
But that's what you're alluding to, though. You're so happy it's finally happening. It doesn't seem like it's going to be happening. As you said, it's going to be a screw job finish. We're not going to get a finish. We're going to keep kicking the can down the line. I get that. That's wrestling.
They got me though. This is a feud. They got me. This is a feud where they got me. Like where they got me though. Like this is one where like I can live with a 10-minute. Okay, you're gonna give me something huge in a couple months again. Like that is the wrestling business. You don't always have to do an hour match every week on free television. So both companies can maybe find a middle ground. We'll be banging on all cylinders there, but.
It's interesting to me. Like, speaking of Hangman and Swerve having potentially genuine dislike for each other, and it looks like they do. We've pretty much shown that Seth Rollins. I mean, Drew McIntyre could be all kayfabe, but Seth Rollins has pretty much been honest about his dislike for CM Punk in real life, and they're playing nice. They're pushing this forward, but imagine. It's one thing to say, like, hey, we know you don't like the guy, but we're signing him. You're going to face him at WrestleMania, big blow off. It's going to sell tickets. That's different. And then suddenly he gets injured to now, like, hey, you're technically going to be in a feud for this guy for about 15 months. From the moment he comes back, he gets injured. You're kind of ancillary, and then you're back in the storyline for another 6-month build, tagging on to it. Like, Seth Rollins and CM Punk have been in each other's lives now for going to be over a year if we're going to extend this, as you said, to the next WrestleMania.
I think they have to.
That's a tough pill to swallow if you're Seth Rollins. Like, if you truly dislike the man, like 3 months versus 15 months is a tough pill to swallow.
Here's all I'll say. I agree with you for the most part, but the one thing I'll say about CM Punk, he brings out the best in people in their promos. I think Seth Rollins has been his best on promos just because he hates CM Punk so much. Yeah. He doesn't do the cackles. He just tells it like it is. And I think he's bringing CM Punk for, if you think the feud is too long or whatever, I kind of agree, but I think we're seeing the best version of Seth Rollins when it comes to his character work and promos that we've seen in a long time. So there's a positive to
that. Speaking of the best version, let's move on to the main event.
Oh, yeah.
Bob, we finally got it. Dominik Mysterio made his decision. Will he? Won't he? He's talking Liv Morgan in the crowd, in the alley, yelling down at Dom, say those 3 little words, as Dom has Rhea Ripley behind him, angrily, menacingly looking on, saying, you better not say those words, you better be with me. And Liv Morgan saying, Rhea, he doesn't want to be with girls like you, he wants to be with girls like me, and does a little spinneroonie and shocked the world. Yeah. And Dom says, I hate you, Liv Morgan. And it goes back to Rhea's arms, who starts licking him endlessly. So Dom is a lucky man, but hey, dude, like,
I've never been more jealous.
We needed this emotional payoff. And whether it's true or not, what Dominik said, whether there's a swerve later, we don't know. But this is how you build a storyline and take it step by step, week by week. We got what we wanted out of this emotional payoff. What did you think about this? And are you, again, excited for the next steps in the Liv, Rhea, Dominik Mysterio love triangle?
Oh, this is still my favorite feud in wrestling, even over CM Punk and McIntyre. I just love this feud. It's soap opera, ridiculous. It's just perfect. And just the twirl with the jean shorts and everybody on the internet like losing their minds, like they've never seen jean shorts before. Like, Liv Morgan is one of the most attractive people on the planet. So is Rhea Ripley. I'm incredibly jealous of Dominik Mysterio. This whole storyline's great. And of course, he's got that porn stash that just adds to everything.
Fantastic stash. Like, some people can't pull off the stash. It fits Dom well.
it makes his character. It makes everything. It's like why is all these beautiful women obsessed with this douche? It's just the perfect thing. It's just so perfect. But I think there's so many ways this can go. It could still be Finn Balor with that room key. They still have that. Or Dom could be lying and Liv could be fake crying. And or Dom, like if they had a Dom on a pole match, like we talked about last week, Dom would actually kick Rhea Ripley off. That could happen. I don't think Rhea Ripley's walking out of SummerSlam with the title. I think that this match is either going to be the first match of the night or the last. I don't know. Like I would start with CM Punk McIntyre and end with this. And Cody versus Solo Sikoa can be in the fucking kickoff show. Cody versus Solo Sikoa in the mid card. Cares about that? Seriously, who cares about that match compared to Punk and
that's going to end it because Roman's coming back.
Yeah,
that's in the cards. That's your main event. I do agree with you though, because we'll be talking about SummerSlam, breaking it all down next week. I do think CM Punk versus Drew could open the show up, especially if it's going to be a screw job finish that we think it is. But I also think that this match right here, Rhea versus Liv, opens up the show because I think this will be a true, genuine wrestling match. And I think there's a definite emotional pull here. And I'm with you, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it all figures out. I'm pretty certain, however, that like 7 years from now, if you and me are still doing this podcast, you're still going to be like, and what the fuck happened to that room key? Like, I think that's just never going to be tied up. Like, we're never going to get a finish to that.
If I'm still writing at Sportskeeda whatever in a year from now I'll be like on this date in 2024, a room key was given to Finn Balor. We never understood. We never got the resolution. I'll be writing op-eds about it in 5 years. But yeah, I agree. This whole storyline really has been great. And I think we're gonna either way. I think we're getting a screwy finish in this match too, like the Punk McIntyre. So I think this feud's being extended and it's gonna get even more personal. I want to see Dominik Mysterio with Liv Morgan. I want to see that turn at SummerSlam. I want to see Rhea Ripley just devastated because she's getting babyface pops. Damian Priest is getting Damian Priest is getting Damian Priest pops. Damian Priest is yeah, that's perfect. I'll just leave it like that. Damian Priest is getting Damian Priest pops. They're all getting good babyface pops. Besides, like Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and I think Dom and Liv could be a new version of the Judgment Day. We'll see, but they have me with this feud. I'm really looking forward to it.
The next time JD McDonough gets a pop, it'll be the first time. But let's move on now to the gimmicks of the week. And Bob, we got a couple of them, man. We got a couple of fun ones. First off, before we leave the DM Punk and the
DM Punk,
Drew McIntyre. Before we leave that feud, he's our social superstar of the week. D-Mac, man, CM Punk had a great line in a promo. I think it was at the end of one of the pay-per-views where he said, I don't need to have another man's name to sell on my shirt to sell merch. And then the new CM Punk shirt has Drew McIntyre's name on it. Yeah. And Drew took offense to it and drew back his arrow and let it fly, my friend. It was fantastic.
Yeah, the new shirt is Clobber McIntyre Punk, like the CM Punk alliteration there. And then Drew McIntyre quoted CM Punk saying, I ain't ever had to put another man's name on my shirt to sell it. Aging well as hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? So throwing in a Colt Cabana reference, CM Punk's arch nemesis since a podcast like 25 years ago. We're still talking about it. These fucking 45-year-old men just can't bury a fucking hatchet. But that's a brilliant shot by Drew McIntyre. Just taking the drama that people are talking about and spinning it into his rivalry. That's the wrestling business. So Drew McIntyre, once again, he should just be permanent resident of Social Superstar of the Week. He just should be his award. The Drew McIntyre Social Superstar of the Week from this point forward.
I have a fun one here. It's the Dirt Sheet Dirt of the Week. And I can't remember if this is a new gimmick or if this is one we've done before, but basically there's some wrestlers from WWE that have become free agents or will be becoming free agents. Yeah. And there are rumors that they could all or some of them end up in AEW. And I don't play a game with you. Bob. One of them's Tamina. We're not going to use Tamina in this game. Instead, we're going to use the three members of the Hurt Business that have been let go or will be let go. That is Shelton Benjamin, who's been let go a while ago. That is Bobby Lashley, who is no longer under contract. And that is MVP, the manager slash really a Hall of Fame career in WWE for MVP. So those three wrestlers MVP is kind of more of a manager at at this point, but they have all been rumored, dirt sheets, to have been leaving WWE, and them potentially coming to AEW, maybe even together, could be a thing. But let's play a game that I used to play when I have my football podcast, Bob. We're going to play Marry, Fuck, Kill. If you had to take these three wrestlers and each of them individually, and which one would you want to see? The idea of whom in AEW? Bobby Lashley, MVP, or Shelton Benjamin? Marry, fuck, kill. The idea of one of these men in AEW. Who do you marry?
Oh, Jesus. I'm marrying. Oh, I'm marrying MVP. That's a weird one. I'll give my reason. And
go for it.
Why I'm just marrying MVP because I think he's a great manager, and there's a lot of people in AEW who can't talk right enough. I think he could help get a lot of these great wrestlers over with his mic skills. He did that for Bobby Lashley, and I would kill Bobby Lashley.
You would?
Yes, and I would.
That's who I'm marrying. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay, but I like I would bring Shelton. Well, that Shelton Benjamin is a better wrestler than Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley's a bigger name. So if you want to do it, so I guess you could bring in Lashley over Benjamin. I guess you could kill Benjamin or Lashley for me, but I'm marrying MVP for those reasons, just to have that voice, that consistent manager that could help get people over better than Don Callis. He's a better manager than Don Callis. It's just so that's why I would bring him in.
See, I think there's too many talkers in AEW, and I know
too many
a lot of
shitty ones.
Well, there's too many big time wrestlers that can't talk like Okada and stuff, but they're making do. But I think there's too many, what's the little guy's name that's always with Jeff Jarrett's crew? Like there's too many of those talkers.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like that there's an overload of those guys, and I think less is more with that. I think Don Callis would be more impactful if there wasn't 72 Don Callises in the promotion, and I do think MVP would just get sort of run of the mill. I would like to see him in there. So he's the middle one for me. I'm killing Shelton Benjamin because AEW is full of Shelton Benjamins. And I like Shelton Benjamin. AEW has a million of them. And I don't think he would stand out in the least. They don't have a Bobby Lashley. And I'm not a biggest fan of Bobby Lashley's work. I don't think he's an A+ wrestler. He's a D+ talker. But again, I think him in a ring means something just physically and could be built into a monster that AEW desperately needs. We've been trying to build Wardlow for 17 years now, and sometimes he's over and they let it fizzle out. Bobby Lashley comes in, walks into a ring. He deserves a title shot against Swerve or whoever has the belt immediately. Like he could be your Brock Lesnar, your whatever you want. Like I think Bobby Lashley has that aura about him. And I'm marrying Bobby Lashley. I want to see him in AEW. But two more gimmicks of the week.
Ideally, just before you go on, just bring MVP and Lashley as both of them, and just do that.
They may do it. They may do it. Maybe they're facing Bryan Danielson at All In. The two more gimmicks. The debut of the week. We finally got hologram, Bob, and I gotta say, I loved it. I loved it.
Well, what did you say? It was like a policeman's vest or whatever the hell you said on Twitter.
The vest needs to go. The traffic cop vest needs to go. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I
just
thought he
the day of the debut, I sent you a report that this is some technological marvel, and then he just comes out in a fucking. Dude, what the hell? Yeah, great debut. He looks great. He's a great wrestler, but like I got this report from Fightful that this is pushing the boundaries of technology, and then you see that fucking entrance. I don't know what that was, but yeah, congratulations to Hologram, debut of the week. Yeah, all right, whatever. I want to see Ricochet more than Hologram.
I very much want to see Ricochet more than Hologram, and then the debut of the week ties into our jobber of the week. I told you. Before we go forward, I'm sorry, Booker T. He wants us to call him enhancement talent. We're going to be calling him jobbers from here on out. What?
Dustin Rhodes. That was Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, Dustin Rhodes. I thought it was Booker T. Same old man, different saying. I feel. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not calling him enhancement talent, but jobber of the week this week, Gringo Loco, who lost to Hologram in amazing fashion, amazing name, amazing dreadlocks. Gringo Loco, man, hat tip for you, buddy. You did your job. Pay that man double. He did his job very, very well. What do you think of Gringo Loco?
Oh, he was great. He was just like I think you used this word before. He was a base. Like Hologram was jumping off his chest. It was great. He was everywhere he needed to be. He made Hologram look like $1 million in that moment, and that's what he was there to do. So congratulations to Gringo Loco on winning the jobber of the week.
All right, let's move on now to the headlines of the week. This is how we end every single week, telling you what the wrestling world will be talking about at this point next week. Bob does WWE. I do AEW. Bob, what is your WWE headline of the week?
Well, last week I said we're witnessing the final days of Logan Paul's United States Championship run. This week, we're witnessing the final days of Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Championship run. They blew it at Money in the Bank by not giving it to Braun Breaker. He earned the rematch against Sami Zayn on Monday night at SummerSlam. Braun Breaker's walking out of SummerSlam as the Intercontinental Champion. That's my headline. What about you for AEW?
For AEW, it's tough because a lot of this is building towards the future. But I will say the headline for next week, at least it might not be the A1 story. It might be like the C column, like turn to page 8 column. But my headline for that column is Chris Statlander beats Willow Nightingale in the Eliminator Challenge match, whatever the fuck they're called, because they're building to that towards All In. This CMLL belt will be on in Wembley, debuted at All In as one of the mid-card matches, and the way we get there is Chris Statlander winning nefariously. Stokely Hathaway might get involved, but I think she pulls one over on Willow Nightingale because I want to see this feud continue, and if Willow goes over clean, it kind of squashes Statlander's hopes and dreams. So Statlander wins. Statlander wins is the headline. And that is it for the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling podcast. And we will be talking all about SummerSlam next weekend, the build and the breakdowns and the predictions for the SummerSlam, the second biggest pay-per-view that WWE has on their calendars. That's coming next week. But for this week, we got to check in once again with Ryback.